Hi, everybody. Anthony Crane here with Pocket Coach, and today's experiment is the sprint review. Now, don't skip around. I mean, you can, but we're not going to talk about the fundamentals. So we've recently made a new decision. We're going to try to put a chat GPT response in for the fundamentals. So we're not going to talk about fundamentals in the rest of the videos as we go forward. Instead, go ahead and do a chat GPT, look it up. What's a sprint review? You'll get a great answer to that, or use the app and you'll see it there as well. So instead, let's talk about what makes it different and unique. So first off, as always, let's get a timer going, which, oh, it's hiding behind my little face here. I'm like, where'd my timer go? All right, sorry about that. So we'll get a little 5-minute timer going. Come on. All right. So first, just as always, let's look at the experiment statement. The problem is that we frequently deliver solutions that don't meet the needs of our customers. We fail to show progress. And when you fail to show progress, people assume the worst. They think that nothing's happening. So showing progress brings people in. Hypothesis, if we demo our progress on cadence, we increase the odds of building the right thing. We can pivot more easily. We can build trust. That's a big one that people don't get. We build trust when we demonstrate progress. And we also get buy-in on timelines. So if we say a timeline is different than we had hoped, because they saw the demos, they actually are like, yeah, we agree. We've been seeing the progress, right? So they become participants and partners in the timeline instead of opposition. Time frame for this experiment, 3 sprints. You should be able to pivot or persevere after 2. Typical outcomes, you should see better solutions, increase in solution value, and increase of collective ownership of results and progress, both. Finally, what do you got to do for this experiment? You've crafted a sprint review agenda that embraces the pattern in the Scrum guide, which, by the way, most people are not doing. All they do is a demo. The thing is not called a demo, it's called a sprint review. So if all you're doing in your sprint review is a demo and nothing else, you've totally missed the point. And just read the Scrum guide and you'll see what I'm talking about. So in addition to a demo, you should also have metrics. You should also have progress against future goals. You should have a discussion on impediments and so on. So we'll talk about that. And so what I want to do today, first off, to get started, is review that Scrum guide, craft an agenda, make sure you have the right people, and then create a recurrent event. You should have an agenda. Here's an example of one. You can pause the video and look. One last thing, postponing a sprint review. You're supposed to never do that. If the sprint review, never plan your your sprint level events, the ones that happen once a sprint, to happen on Monday or Friday. Always Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So on our teams, we typically do sprint planning on Wednesday, and then sprint retro and review on 2 weeks later, Tuesday. So Wednesday, Tuesday. That way, holidays rarely disrupt the calendar. But if they do disrupt, all you should do is do it early. Never roll it late. Do it early and plan for less work. Okay, so you should not be postponing sprint reviews ever. And I have a little article on how to do that. We can cover that in another video if there's enough interest. So what I did want to show you is an example, actual PowerPoint agenda for running a stand-up meeting. So here in the title, what's your product? What iteration are you in? Sprint review. By the way, we often do North Stars for what we're trying to work on. If you have a North Star, that guiding principle for the next release, for example, that would be a great thing to put there to remind people. We like to track who's coming, right? The team itself should be there. Extended part-time resources should be there. Your stakeholders who influence but don't help build should be there. And then I often have observers because they want to know what's going on in our sprint reviews. So those are the 4 types. We always track attendance so that later we can say, we haven't been getting the right people in the room. Maybe that's why our reviews aren't going so well. So here is your default agenda. And this is about all I'll have time to cover in the first 5 minutes. After that, I'm going to go deeper in some of these ideas. Set expectations that we're showing work in progress. Explain the goal. Every iteration is supposed to have one. If it doesn't, that's something you guys can improve on. Then the demo, story by story. Here is the acceptance criteria. Here's what actually happened. After that, we do a thing called a perceived value survey. We have a template for this. The perceived value survey is how we determine whether or not the stakeholders see value in what we are demonstrating. And that is massive. Story points don't tell you this. Story points is about effort, right? Value is completely different than story points. And so we need a way to find out, are we delivering value? That's a perceived value survey, which exactly right after the demo. Now, what else? This is where most people end. But if you look at the Scrum guide, there's more to it. What were your impediments to velocity and quality, and how did you overcome them? Which ones have you not yet overcome? Your stakeholders often can bring those ideas to other teams that they look at, or can give you ideas from other teams as well. Then this is one of the biggest complaints in the sprint review, is that there's no mid-range plan. In other words, they showed me that they did stuff, but I have no idea how that's going to do overall. So we need to show our progress against a mid-range plan or a roadmap. Next iteration, what's our main goal for next iteration, and candidate plan. Here are the stories we think we're going to play. Now, we haven't done sprint planning yet, and we haven't taken feedback from this review, and we haven't done our retrospective, which is going to change things as well. So the feedback from the review, the retro, will change this candidate plan, but we still show it now so that we can get feedback immediately. Like, oh, we're surprised that's on there, and we can be like, oh, okay, tell us what's on. What are you worried about? Next, we should do team metrics. I'll do the team metrics in a different video. And finally, we do some closing questions to close out the sprint review. And as we go, here at the bottom, we're going to log defects, ideas, and new requirements. We don't have time in the time box to do discussions, so all we can do is log. So that, my friends, is the agenda. I'm going to show you an example of each of these bullets in the next 5 minutes. But there you have it. If you haven't been doing your sprint reviews this way, you really aren't following the Scrum guide. If you're only doing 30 minutes, right, then you're probably not, that's not what the Scrum guide says you should do per week of sprint, right? So you can go and look there and see what the math looks like. But in the meantime, this is a real agenda closer to what was in the spirit of the Scrum guide. All right, so I'm going to reset this timer for a second 5 minutes. And now I'm going to go in a little bit deeper on these particular bullets. And in a separate video, we'll do the metrics. So let's see what it looks like. Set expectations. This is our set expectation slide. If people are new to Agile, they're not used to seeing half-baked work. You show people half-baked work who are used to waterfall, they freak out, and then they do bad things. So it's critical that you explain we're showing work in progress and that is normal and that we're looking for feedback, not freakouts. Okay. We also talk about the managing the time box tightly because we don't have a lot of time. We have a lot to show. And so we will take live actions. We call them live actions. In front of them, we type down what we hear, so that they can say, you heard me wrong. So that they can see, oh, they wrote it down. If you have someone say, I want to talk about X, and you go, no, but watch this, and X is now written, they suddenly feel like they were heard and that you're going to actually take action. So it's tough skill for some people to master, to be able to type what people are saying while doing the screen sharing, but that's exactly what we need to master. Okay, so one of my favorite things to teach teams to do. So then you do your sprint goal. Here's overall what we're trying to do. And then the story overview. So I might have a list of my story, the points, what ended up happening with them, and the demo environment. I probably haven't done that in a while. And so down here, you can see attempting to claim X of Y points. So we want to claim 14 of 14 points, but we need to know if you agree. Now, your product owner should already have told you, right? You should be meeting with your product owner throughout the sprint, but these are all your stakeholders. And if your product owner doesn't have a lot of time, well, maybe this is your only chance to touch base with them. That's bad. We can fix that. That's a different issue, though. 14 of 14 points. So in this case, the team thinks they got all 14 done, right? Okay, next up, we then go story by story. We bring up the story, the points, the status, and the acceptance criteria for each of those stories so that people can say, oh, and we can say, yeah, we didn't get all this, but here, let's show what we got. Okay, and then down here is the proof. We're going to demo some stuff, right? Story 2, etc. So once you're done with the stories, then you do the perceived value survey. So in this one, we simply ask, how well did the value of the solution match your expectations for this sprint? So it's a sprint by sprint metric. And A, you exceeded my expectations. Like I was like 150%, way more than I expected to see in a 2-week sprint. Met my expectations. It's like, yep, you said you were going to do it. You did it. Partially met. You didn't show me everything I wanted, but you're 80% there. And then did not meet is 20% or less of what I was hoping to see. I did not see. And don't be upset about this. This is a way to listen. And you can see here that we can then, we also put the graph here of the last, few sprints. So in this case, 5 sprints, and you can see it's been 90, 95, 90. So we've been in that sweet spot of, that's what you really want to be in, is the 80 or above percent on perceived value. Next, you talk about your impediments to velocity or quality. What things are in your way? The ones you overcame, the ones that are still in your way. This is such a powerful thing, especially for stakeholders who see more than one project, or more than one team, rather. Mid-range plan. So here's an example of a mid-range plan. So in this case, we think that this whole project is going to be this blue line. That's how many story points it's going to take to implement this project. So here's how many points have been actually are still open. So you can see this is the ideal burn, this yellow line. We're pretty far away. So here's a team that's in trouble. And so what are we going to do? And there's actually some algorithms we use to algorithmically tell you what you should do in a situation like this. This is one example. You could also do a roadmap with, or feature plan for the quarter and when the feature is supposed to close. So lots of really cool ways to do roadmaps. But the point of the roadmap is once the demo is done, I should be able to see how are we doing overall. This tells me that the demo does not. Next iteration, sprint goal and candidate plan. So what's the goal? Here are the stories we're looking to play. But again, that could all change based on your feedback from the sprint review, our own retrospective, and then in sprint planning, we'll really think about things deeper. We'll want to cover metrics. So here's some productivity metrics. Down here, this little table, if you pause it, this is what happens when you have a bad burn down like this. This is what we might do to get back to whole. We'll do that in a different video. We also might have quality metrics. Again, you can pause it and review them at your own leisure. And then we do a demo value survey. So how valuable did you find the demo itself? And so what we want is for people to be like, it's very, very valuable. And so you can see here in sprint 2 and 3, our numbers were really, really good. Okay, so you can pause that and analyze the graph. And then we hit the closing questions. Should we continue? And the project is old school, so let's go ahead and just fix that now. Should we continue the initiative? A little bit of a synonym there, but we'll figure it out later. Do we need to take any corrective action on time, budget, or scope based on what you've seen today? Does this impact quality or value? Update planning, update ROI, typically not done until a third of the project total timeline. So when the project is a third of the way in, or after 3 good sprints, that's when you might want to ask the time, budget, or scope question. And there you have it. That is the thing I most wanted to show you was an example of a real sprint review PowerPoint here. The thing that we didn't cover today are, again, these sprint metrics for productivity and value. You can pause and learn from that or wait for that video. So that's it. My name is Anthony Crane, and this has been Pocket Coach and Sprint Planning. I hope it was a sprint review. I hope it was useful.